The double barrel and the pump action are designs that go back centuries. So what happens when you put them together? You get the DP-12, ridiculous firepower in compact form. The real DP-12 may be small, but Helen, the weapon's equivalent and latest T-Doll coming to Ghost Frontline 2 Exilium, is anything but. In fact, I'd say she's the biggest of the lot, though don't let her catch you staring. She offers equally large gains to her allies too, being a bulwark that's set to become a core member of freeze teams. Packing some truly absurd sustain, she can self-heal and debuff clear, shield and damage share with her allies, and has the unique trait of reducing the ultimate cooldown of freeze dolls. There's more to just Helen though, as she arrives with the Antiparallel version, which brings with it over 90 pulls, 9,000 plus collapse pieces, and the Starlight Gala event, where you can experience Helen's free interactive story. And of course there's plenty of outfits to boot, not just for Helen but for Dishapnaya and Lever too. Before we talk about the features of this new version though, I should mention that this video is sponsored by Ghost Frontline 2 Exilium, and it's probably worth covering a bit of what it even is. If you're already familiar with the game though, just skip ahead. Exilium continues the girls but with guns aesthetic from the original, but takes a 3D approach instead, with NPR and PBR technologies to deliver on a polished anime look. But newcomers to the franchise may be surprised to find that the game isn't a shooter, it's a strategy RPG for both mobile and PC. You deploy a team out in a grid and take turns to move units around, making use of cover, vantage, and various unique skills and combinations to play up team synergies. There's a lot of mechanics to the game that others can do a much better job at covering than I can. Elemental effects, destructive covers, out-of-turn actions, all of which make up the backbone of its combat. Putting it all together and watching as your team rains hell on a boss is very neuron activating. If I'm to introduce the game though, it'd be remiss of me not to mention the other neuron activating modes. There is more to it than just combat. The visual novel style approach to narrative from the original is still here, but with a voice-acted main story and no shortage of animated 3D cutscenes to supplement it. Not to mention some great promotional videos. This 3D aspect is a big focus. Their meticulously crafted weapon models can be inspected from multiple angles, and there's even a weapon gallery to showcase them. And there's a crew deck and door modes that lets you more closely observe the characters and appreciate the work that the game's developers have put into its assets. Where pre-rendered animated cutscenes showcase the action-packed story segments, and these modes are about live interactions, bringing with them a healthy dose of fan service. If I'm going to be entirely honest, I'd wager that the non-combat gameplay might just be the bigger draw of the game for most. But enough about the basics. The game is free to play, so it's easy to hop in and give it a go. And it's as good a time as any to try because of the Antiparallel patch. It begins April 23rd and lasts for 42 days. As mentioned before, it brings with it rewards throughout, being spread over the course of the patch. Starlight Gala is a featured event in it. You and the doll set up a soiree to wind down from recent events. Participating in festivities unlocks furniture pieces as well as an exclusive scene with Helen. And talking about Helen, she's DP-12, the limited doll for the first half of the patch, so it's probably worth going over her. Gentle on the outside, resilient within, the mommy type character. And that's their words, not mine. The developers have literally called one of her skills maternal care, and one of her fixed keys motherly glow. I much prefer the machine translated glory to mommies though. I genuinely can't make this up. She's got strong protective instincts, and that's very much integrated as part of her kit, a bulwark. To play up her tank pro, Helen has no shortage of passive effects to sustain her. Every turn she recovers HP, cleanses debuffs from herself, and is fully immune to anti-healing effects. She also gets a boost to her max HP and defense at the start of battle, and has 15% of her defense be converted into attack before using her basic. The ridiculous amount of self-sustain that she has ties into her gameplay loop, getting hit. That's because the last effect of her passive comes in the form of Icy Edge. For every instance of damage Helen takes, a stack is built, and she gets a 180% increase to the damage multiplier of her basics when it's up. This is on top of the buff standard 10% crit rate and freeze damage boosts to basic per stack. The fact it's based on an instance of damage is exploitable. Laceration, for example, leads to a tick of damage for every tile moved. Helen might be sitting at 24 stacks of Icy Edge at first, but then she walks a little, triggering multiple hits, and ends up with 32 stacks when done. Do keep in mind that they are all consumed after attacking, so you won't keep hold of them for long. Still, they do tend to accumulate, in large part due to maternal care, Helen's first skill. With it, she can select an ally within a 6-tile radius and apply Sucker. When nearby, the affected ally will share 100% of all initial damage they take with Helen, all the while having any taunt and fear statuses cleansed. By initial damage, that means damage before defense, shield protection, and cover reduction. Trio Dushev at 536 defense transfers 105 damage to Helen. Try it with Macchiato, who has only 463 defense, and the damage is still the same, 105. Helen's own defensive stats matter here, which is good, considering these all build Icy Edge. Covering Charge is Helen's second skill, where she'll dash to a pick tile, cleansing a debuff and applying Frost Barrier to all allies in an area between Helen's initial and final position. Note that this also applies a Frost effect to all tiles along the path. The more allies it covers, the stronger it gets, with scaling team-wide shields and personal stability recovery. Guardian is her basic attack, and it does some middling freeze damage to a single target and a lot of stability damage. I think the highest of any basic so far. And don't forget that it can get a lot of buffs from her passives to increase its multipliers. The final skill to cover is her ultimate, Banner Watch. On use, an ally other than Helen within a 6-hour radius can be picked and granted attack and defense up 3 for 2 turns. Multiple units can self-buff with attack up 2. Heck, Robella is in the freeze team and she gets it with a fixed ski, but I believe Helen's the only source of attack up 3 in the game. Granted, it's only 5% better, so the real draw of her ultimate is that it reduces the ultimate cooldown of all freeze attribute those other than Helen by 1 turn. So while attack up 3 is limited to 1 unit, the cooldown reduction is universal. That covers Helen's base kit, but it does get quite a few enhancements with Fortification segments, also known as Verts. From V1 to V3, most upgrades are focused on team support, like a wider covering charge, crit damage buffs, and both a reduction in Helen's ultimate cooldown and an increase to its cooldown reduction effect to allies. From V4 to V6, she's got some supportive value still, with Sucker increasing freeze damage dealt and her covering charge getting higher scaling, but it's mostly about personal damage. V6 in particular turns her into a proper sub-DPS, massively increasing her Icy Edge generation, basic damage, and defense attack scaling. Investment checkpoints are probably V0, V3, and V6. V0 can feel somewhat restrictive, but V0 plus outfit is a triple S tier pick for the unequivocal endgame of Exilium, Dorm interactions. V3's improvement to her ultimate is especially good for buff upkeep, and at playing up Helen synergy with Dush of Naya and Macchiato, giving these older freeze units more staying power. And V6 is what lets Helen actually do damage. Believe it or not, I'd recommend her V6 before her imprinted weapon, Docet Defender. It increases her defense and basic attack damage by 15 and 25% respectively, which is nice, but it's not until V6 that the defense attack ceiling is high enough to really justify it. It also has a physical damage reduction and HP recovery effect, but they are far from needed. Expeditionary Pigeon and Mezzaluna are more than fine as alternatives. For attachments, freeze boost set effect with a substat priority of attack percent, death percent, and flat attack spread in set order. And naturally, crit damage for muzzles. All in all, Helen slots right into current freeze teams. Alva, Robella, Dush of Naya, and Macchiato would be Helen's recommended partners. Between her damage share, debuff cleansing, and cooldown reduction ability, she's arguably one of the most forgiving units to use. Dushev's Glacial Domain buff gives her support actions when allies are hit. Alva's Covering Mode shoots at attacking enemies, and Macchiato auto counters when attacked from the alert buff. Couple all of that with Helen's Sucker and, well, you can AFK and the team just plays itself. It's not all perfect though. Her cooldown reduction does elevate older freeze units to be more relevant, but there's few freeze units who have cooldown based ultimates, limiting her utility. She's ridiculously tanky, massively increasing the survivability of freeze teams. But that does come at the cost of low buff value and personal damage without vertical investment. The biggest positive though is that, well, she's humongous. But it's to the point that it might be comical to some. Not to me though, I did mean it when I said V0 plus outfit was triple S tier for Dawn, with Starlit Wards being said outfit. It's this outfit that gives her the special Dorm interaction, but it also comes with independent effects for combat too, namely a new ultimate cut-in and enhanced visuals for all of her skills. Helen's outfit is on sale for a limited time alongside the Shivnaya's Tomorrow's Savior, both getting limited time discounts. Leva's outfit is around too, being part of a gacha system with outfit procurement. When it comes to appearances, Starlit Wards has reflective metal trims that respond to lighting, details, striped fabric textures, and even individual stitches on the edge of the coat. While there's much to be said about the little details, there'll be no shortage of people that'll be getting this outfit for the parts where there are no details. Great then that it has distinct accessories that let users customize how it looks. A nylon combo with a side slit, or leather on a split dress, or just get it all off. Mix and match what works best. Dushev's Tomorrow's Savior is the other shop outfit. Unlike Helen's, this one doesn't have unique interactions or animations, but it goes all in on customizability. At first it looks like a stylized take on the sailor uniform, only to turn up with sporty and swimwear theme options. Rather than slight adjustments, it's more akin to having multiple outfits in one. The final new fashion entry of Dispatch is with Leva's Sultry Tempo outfit. As with Helen's outfit, it gets exclusive effects, with a unique dorm scene and skill animations, but it also comes with its own interactive story scenes at the fitness center on the crew deck. To make it easier to get it, there's a fair few outfit permits that are being handed out freely that can help with unlocking it. One such ticket giveaway is a web event, which also gives a chance to win a $1,000 Amazon gift card. All of this though is covering Part 1 of Antiparallel, going up to May 13th. From May 14th onwards, Part 2 begins, and with it comes another new door, Vetusa, A Sentinel class was able to revert her physical state and perform additional attacks with blade resonance. So if you are interested in the game, why not download it with the link in the description? For a new player, then now's as good a time as any to give the game a go, with almost 1.5 years worth of content to go through. Or maybe a returning player like myself. My personal account is sitting on a V2 Macchiato that I splurged on in the game's early life, and if I want to get use out of her, Helen's about as good a partner as you'll ever get. With an ever-increasing combination of doors and an endless stream of content that keeps on coming, Exilium has plenty to offer, so do give it a go. Thank you all for watching, and if you do decide to try it out, I'd appreciate it if you use my link. That'll be all from me today.